while.
It's been a long time coming. But we here now.
Yes, man. Brandon, how you doing, bro?
I'm well, man. I can't even complain. Life update. I am done with YFC. Wow. I had my exit interview on, I want to say Wednesday of last week. So I'm like, I now only have my photography business and working at On Rims. So I just feel like I'm in my mind I have a lot more space. I'm still volunteering with YFC, so I still go to club, man. But I'm just there. Like I don't have any responsibility. I don't have any real responsibility, and it feels so good. Oh, I'm telling you, it feels fantastic.
Yeah, you put in a lot of work and effort and time into YFC and helped a lot of kids. So
yeah, man,
that's great, bro.
Yeah, life has been fantastic. What about you, Jeff?
So, yeah, my wife is pregnant.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are.
I had no idea.
You did, though. I told you. But, yeah, this is our second time.
Let's go.
You know, for those who know what happened with the first one, you know. So we're excited and nervous at the same time. We're at about 13 weeks on Sunday. Tomorrow will be 13 weeks, so. It's been very difficult. I greatly ask for everyone's prayer, continued prayer. Until I say otherwise. And
man,
just keep praying for us. We appreciate all the prayers that have been coming
thus
no
far.
Otherwise.
Just keep praying.
Yeah. So that's great.
Let's go.
So yeah, guys, sorry we were gone so long. We were supposed to record, and then the day we were supposed to record, Brandon had a close contact, so we had to not record. And then from there, like
it was just
all kind of different scheduling, and like, I'm not available. I got work, I got this, I got that. So finally found time to record today. I'm not sure when you'll be hearing this. Might be Wednesday. I think I'll put the audio out earlier, maybe tomorrow, and then the video will be out whenever Jose can get to it, which is no rush on my boy.
Damn.
So before we get to like the start, this is part 2 of our series that we started a while ago. I wanted to put this to you, Jose. I want to, at the beginning, maybe even at the end, put like credits to our patrons. So like say this is brought to you by our patrons.
Yeah.
Just to give them credit because they contribute a lot,
man.
They've been great, and so just like it's also an incentive. Like, hey, I want that.
Yeah.
Well, become a patron. You know what I'm saying? Get that shout out. But yeah, this is definitely brought to you by our patrons.
Yeah.
So I told you it wasn't that bad, Jose.
Yeah, he was all scared. What did I do with the patrons now?
Yeah, but I will send you the list of them, and then you can put that however you want to creatively do it.
Let's go.
At the beginning and end of our videos, just so they get their credit, because we thank you guys a lot, man. So this is part 2 of the series. Just to recap, we had our giveaway. Shout out to everybody.
Thank y'all for submitting, for tagging, liking.
Yeah, our brother Nemo, Nehemiah got one copy. You got the Instagram copy.
You got the Instagram copy.
And then Emma, who was a guest of the pod, friend of the pod.
Yep.
She got the patron copy.
Yes.
So yeah, man. If you haven't gotten the book between the first episode and now,
look, y'all, do it.
It's not. It's like $20 maybe.
Yeah, it's not expensive.
Not that you get the audio book.
Yeah,
if you're
the audio book is $20 too.
Yeah.
But it's just the book itself it's just really good. Like it's good information and it's practical information.
It's very practical. It'll help you. It is very theologically sound.
Yes.
It's just comes from a good place. It comes from a place of compassion and really wanting to help people grow. Yeah. So our first episode, we talked about the devil.
The devil.
Okay. And all that entails. If this is your first time joining us on the pod, I know I talked to somebody yesterday at church. You have a podcast? And he's like, oh, you have 85 episodes? Wow. It was like last person I told me that they had a podcast, they had like 2.
Oh, yeah. We've been podcasting for a minute.
Man.
Man.
Multiple years here. But yeah, so I would recommend, stopping this episode, go back and listen to episode 1.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on. But this episode is going to be about the flesh. Remember, this book, Live No Lies, is about the 3 enemies of the soul: the devil, the flesh, and the world. So we've tackled the devil. You got to read more if you want to get more information about that.
Yeah, and that was a little challenging.
Yeah.
The reading about the devil. I was just talking to Josiah before we started rolling, and I was like, yeah. He was saying that it was a very difficult task to like. It was kind of boring a little bit, just because it's so foreign. Some of it can be very foreign.
Right. It's just like not our paradigm.
Yeah.
As modern people.
So it was hard to stay. It was hard to stay like engaged in the book. But I love the way that he transitions from talking about the devil.
And
to
you
the
needed to start with that to kind of like, okay, let me get this out the way.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people like want to blame. It's not my fault. The devil made me do it. The devil made me bad. And it's like, okay, yeah, he does have a role. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
He's real. He's a real enemy. But
he's not
you are.
There's some
your biggest
responsibility.
enemy.
Yeah, I was like, you have a little responsibility.
A lot of
in that
responsibility here. You have a lot to play. So, let's talk about the flesh. So let's first define it, or let's let John Mark Comer, JMC, define it.
Let's go.
So these are just some highlights. The Greek word for flesh is sarx.
Yeah.
And it has a couple different meanings in the Bible, but the main one that we're focused on is animalistic cravings of our body apart from God. Sinful passions, our sinful nature, right? The sin nature, our sinful appetite. And here's the thing. It could feel natural.
Right.
That's the thing. It might feel good. It probably usually does feel good, feel natural, but it is wrong. It's our corrupt desires. And it comes from the corruption of the world that's caused by evil desires and the devil and stuff like that. Or he plays to them. He plays to our disordered desires. Let's see. This part says, flesh as the corruption that sin has introduced into our very appetite and instincts.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the dark underbelly of the human heart. So scientifically, it's like the animal self, the animal brain, which I like that John Mark Comer is not afraid to pull from secular sources. Like, hey, this is there's psychologically this is backed up, biologically it's backed up.
But even by other great thinkers like the Buddha and Plato and all these other people who actually also had an understanding of what this difference between the flesh is. Like there's it's not just like one. It's not just like your physical body.
Right.
There's something else going on.
Yeah. In fact, as we were talking before we say record, I feel like this helped me especially have a better appreciation and understanding and respect for bodies, like physical bodies. Because you kind of can grow up and think, especially in church, your body is bad.
Right.
Having your
body
physical
is bad.
Your physical body is bad. And it's no, it's not. In fact, the Bible and God has a high respect for our bodies. That's why he gave us bodies. And that's why he came with a physical body and he was resurrected with a physical body. And so, bodies are good, right? They were made good.
Yeah.
There is a part of us, this nature in us, this sin nature, this part of if you want to get scientific, our brains, that is very base and just all it cares about is pleasure, self-gratification, feeling good.
Yeah. Not being good.
Yeah. No. Not being good, feeling good. And just its appetite is unending. And it's just
I think he said something about the animal brain is fed from dopamine.
Yeah, in fact, I highlighted that part. So it's on page 113 for me.
Okay.
It says, pleasure is not the same thing as happiness. Pleasure is about dopamine. Happiness is about serotonin. Pleasure is about feel good in the moment. Happiness is about contentment over the long haul, which is I would characterize that more as joy. Rich, satisfying as it. Pleasure is about want. Happiness is about freedom from want.
Ooh, bro, that
wild.
is heavy.
Yeah.
The freedom from want.
Yeah, freedom from want.
Oh
man.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good. All right, so let's talk about this for a second. I think we have a good understanding of what the flesh is. It's not just your physical body. So when the Bible is talking about the flesh, what was the Greek word? Sarx. Has different meanings, but from the meaning that we're going to talk about is this part of your flesh, the part of your brain that is animalistic in its style, in its way of in its character.
Yeah, and just to kind of further make that point, like when we say animalistic, like we talked about this like in the last episode. If like a lion is hungry, it can't be like, I'm not gonna eat though. I've ate enough. I don't want to overeat. I gotta watch my weight. Yeah. It's just like eat.
Yes.
If it wants to mate, it's gonna mate.
Yeah.
Like,
and it doesn't care what it eats.
Yeah. It's an animal. It doesn't think. It just acts on instinct. Right. Like, yes, you can say, well, animals do have feelings and that. Sure. Yes. I'm not saying, but for the most part, they cannot override their desires. Right. They That's just good. Whatever they feel, they give into it.
Whatever the desire, and truthfully, whatever their strongest desire is, that's what they go after.
That's what they go for.
They don't really care about their deepest desires.
It's so funny how, and we'll talk about this. Our culture is very much like giving into your desires is what makes you human. But it's actually what makes you less than human. Yes. You become, as Genesis 3 says, you become a beast of the field. So like I heard this on the Bible Project podcast a long time ago, and it's like God made humans to rule over the beasts of the field, but they were actually ruled by a beast of the field, which was the serpent.
Oh dang!
So like they actually like gave up their rule,
their authority.
Then they actually became less than human.
Wow.
Because they started giving into their desire, their animal desire. They become less human. You actually become less human when you're just operating off of like what you feel.
Yeah. Or like what you want. Like being not being able to be content and not being able to say no to something that may even feel good, but in the long run it's not good for you. So like it looks good to you, but it's not good for you. I think those are I think that's like the true definition of what an animal, the difference between like a human brain and animal brain is.
Yeah, man. So talking about this thing we have in our notes called hierarchy of desires, and you kind of alluded to it just now. So our culture is very much about giving into your strongest desire. Like whatever you are feeling in the moment,
go for it.
Do it. Follow your heart. That was good. We didn't even plan that. Do you, give in to what you feel, all that good stuff. Like just, I think he quotes this one guy who says, the heart wants what the heart wants.
Oh, yeah. Woody Allen.
Right. Yeah. No, I even have it right here. So the heart wants. Follow your heart. You do you. Just do it. Speak your truth. Be true to yourself. Right. But we can't even just define like what is our true self. Right. And if it's the strongest desire, that's not going to lead to very much good. And we'll talk about that. And so the hierarchy of desires talks about our strongest desire is not always our deepest desire.
Yeah, that's true. I think the idea is whatever you're feeling in the moment doesn't mean that you actually like want that most of all. It's almost like this is the loudest thing in the room. Like yes, that. You can hear it, but
loudest thing.
It's just loud. It doesn't mean like it's what you want. It's just like
something. Or if it doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, I mean, I think about like when some people. I don't know if we went to South Africa and like there's this area where it's kind of like an outdoor mall, and like there are people who are literally trying to sell you stuff and they are yelling at you. And sometimes the intimidation of them yelling like, buy this, buy this, no, buy this, that can get like so overwhelming to you. You're just like, okay, in order to like make you stop here. I'm just going to buy this. Can you leave me alone now? And then you take that and then you walk away like, I don't even want this. Yeah. Like I didn't want this in the beginning. And then because he was so loud, like I bought it. When the thing that you actually, and then you go buy the thing you actually wanted, now you can't afford it. Damn. Because you done bought the thing that you didn't need.
Wow, there's some depth in that.
Absolutely.
In that statement. Like you want it, but you can't get it because you spent so much somewhere stuff you don't actually want. The strong desires, not the deep one. It's like, so what is our deepest desire?
I would say, I think there are a lot of them. I think if you boil it all down, which I didn't get this from John Mark Comer, but this is something he said. At the root of it all, I think we all are longing for God.
Yes.
Like we truthfully long for a relationship with our Creator. And then some of the things that He's created in us as human beings are things like love, joy, peace, like the fruits of the Spirit, patience, kindness, goodness. Those are the things that you want, like real intimacy. You want someone to know you, the good you and the bad you, and still love you. You want someone to trust you, to like be able to say, hey, I'm depending on you. You want someone, one of the desires you want is to be at peace with situations that aren't peaceful. So you can be around chaos where it's just like, oh my God, everything's going crazy. But yet you as a person, you're like, God, I'm just trusting that you're going to make this work.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like, but I'm trusting you.
I think he calls it non-anxious presence.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we should be non-anxious presence. Like in a world full of anxiety, when Christians, like people who are truly, in tune with their spirit and have like mastered their flesh, like when they come into a situation, like it like settles it down. Their non-anxious presence.
Yeah. I just started reading the book, The Relentless Pursuit
of relentless elimination of hurry.
Yeah.
The pursuit of hurry.
I was like, no.
We need to go faster.
And I literally, I read the foreword like 4 or 5 times because the idea was like, when you get to a, like, if you can eliminate hurry, on the opposite side of that is like everything that the Lord is like willing to give to you. Wow. Like there is patience, there's kindness, there's goodness. And He's like, even when you get into a moment where everything around you is going crazy, just you being in the room, people calm down.
You become a thermostat instead of a thermometer.
Yes. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. So I think that happens. And I think that's kind of like something that we all long for. Like we don't want our situation, like one of my deepest desires, I don't want my situation to ever dictate my reaction or my or my actions. I don't want what's happening around me to cause me to do something that
is not you.
It's not, like not in character with who I am.
Yeah. That's good, man. I agree. I think, I think our deepest desire is for God. And maybe you're not even a believer. You're like, nah, that's not it. It actually is.
Yeah.
And you see it play out in so many different ways. Like I preached about this last week. Like everybody has a desire to belong. Like everybody wants to belong. We want a community to belong to. Everyone's always looking for community. Like even if you're like, no, I don't need nobody. Like, all right, after a while, you need a group of nobodies to like
hang out with.
And that's why I see it with my kids on like Twitch or they follow this one streamer or they subscribe to this one person or they always want to be part of some community. We need to belong to somebody.
Yeah. And
that comes from our deepest desire to belong to God, to belong to our Creator, like to be in communion with Him and with His people. And so I do think even if the world is like doesn't buy into that at all, it is true. Our deepest desire, like you said, is to be known, is that intimacy, to be fully known, like bad and good, by someone and yet still accepted.
Yes.
Right. And so I think that's why you see like the world on either side, left or right, like fighting for that acceptance, especially on the left side, especially. Like they're just like, look, this is me. You got to accept me. And it's like, that's coming from a good place, actually.
I believe so.
You're just going about it
the wrong way. Yeah.
And so with this hierarchy of desires, like, man, I had it somewhere. Let me see if I can find it.
Because even one of the things that he had mentioned as you look for that, he had mentioned that there is there's like, wanting the wrong thing, and then there's like wanting or desiring in the right way, just in the wrong order.
It's literally what I was about to read.
Let's go.
You read my mind. Yeah, he says, we love either the wrong things or the right things, but in the wrong order. Yeah, so that it's this disordered desires. They're just not in the right order.
Yeah,
right?
And it's crazy because even like some of the examples that you use is like you can love your job, but if you love your job more than you love your kid, like that's a disordered desire.
It's not in the right order.
Yeah, you can love your job. It's probably a good thing to love your job, but to love your job more than you love your children is like
that ain't it.
That's not it. And you you could definitely, like, if you're listening to this and you've experienced that, you know what I'm talking about. But even if you haven't, you can understand what that would look like going to work and your kid's like, hey, Dad, are you going to come to my game? Knowing you can go, but your dad chooses not to, what that does between the relationship between the father and the son, or the mother and daughter, or however that goes.
Facts, bro.
So,
yeah, man. So, like, we've got to get our desires in order. And like you said, like, we have these desires that are really loud, like really strong. They feel very strong in the moment. I just got to give into it. And we've got to get to the point where we cannot give in, where we choose to not. In fact, I love this line right here. He says, happiness comes from the result of disciplined desires. Right? So the good life is what happens after you discipline your desires. So like that is on me. Like God's not going to discipline my desires. Nope. I have to do that.
That's my work. So going back to the story about the street mall in South Africa, before we left to go to the street mall, patient tells us like there's going to be people there.
Prepared to
like told us like there's gonna be people there who are gonna be like literally trying to, because they know you're American and they're gonna try to sell you stuff you don't want. He was like, just if you want it, buy it. If you don't want it, don't buy it. Like just discipline yourself and say, I'm not gonna get that. We get there, majority of us fall into the desire to buy, or not even desire. We didn't want to buy it, but we bought things we didn't want.
Shut them up.
Yeah. So we gave in, and then like I remember watching him like navigate through this mall. And I was like, dang, I want to be able to do that. Like, I want to be able to, like, walk through the mall and people are, like, yelling, trying to sell me stuff. And I'm just like, no, I'm okay. Thank you, though. And, like, he just did it with such poise and such swag. It was like, God, dog it. And I think that's what it looks like when you've overcome your desires, when you've mastered, when you've disciplined your desires. Bro, you could walk through anything and be like, nah, I'm good. A woman come up to you like, "Ooh, what up, daddy?" Nah, I'm straight. I
am a dad. Yes, I do. I'm glad you recognize.
And I got a wife, just so you know. I am married,
yes.
so this is. Thank you for noticing all of those things. But you just can keep pushing. So like when he says that, when he's mentioned like what God has for us is on the other side of that, mastering our desires, I think that is the truest thing, and I think I've felt that and I've sensed it for a long time, just not being able to put it like so eloquently like John Mark was able to do.
Yeah, man. I'm literally just reading this, and it's like, it's so funny what our culture is like trying to say, but yet is just wrong on, like just absolutely not correct. Let's try to get into it. We have about like 7 minutes before we take a break, but so let's see. So a secular age, West changed from a culture of authority to a culture of authenticity. Right. So it's funny. We're in a different era, completely different era, but yeah, we're still operating off the previous era's assumptions about us. Let me explain. So we still carry over from the Enlightenment this idea that we are rational beings. That humans are very logical and rational, and we can like reason our way through anything. And it's like it's not really the case. Like we are actually
irrational.
Yeah. In fact, he says here, we live primarily from desire, not our rational minds. We're actually like, we think that we can like, you know, I think he talks about it in the book somewhere. Like we can think that like we won't get fooled by stuff. Like we can, we'll see that I'm too rational for that. And most humans are very irrational, extremely
it's
emotional.
Like, why did you do that?
Easily,
well, I was mad.
We're easily fooled.
Yeah.
Like we
gullible.
cannot tell the difference between fake and real, and we think we can. Like, no, I can just sense it when someone's lying. No, you can't. Not really.
And they've been lying for years.
So. Yeah, man. Like we're not as like smart and advanced as we think we are. Therefore, we're not as free as we think we are, which we'll talk about. But we've moved from a culture of authority to a culture of authenticity. So like in previous, generations, like authority is what mattered. Like whether it was like your church, like what the priest or the pastor said, they're like, all right, I'll listen to that. teachers, what society, the government, your parents, whatever.
Any like external thing was like telling you.
External is the right word. Yeah. Like anything on the outside telling, in fact, it says external authority structures, right? God, the Bible, tradition, whatever the case may be. Like those things, told us what to do and they formed us. And then we've moved to this culture of authenticity where it's about what's on the inside, like my authentic self and what it wants to do. And so like I need to be free from any, like you said, external thing trying to tell me what to do.
You can't tell me how to live my life. You can't, it's my body.
I got to be true to myself.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
It's actually really scary because you think that it's a place that you want to be until you fully get there. Like while you're on the while you're driving, like while you're on the journey to like independence, it sounds fantastic. And then you finally arrive and you're like, whoa, actually, could somebody, is anybody there? Can someone help me? Like, I don't know where I'm going now.
By yourself now. You want it to be.
This is where you wanted to be. You wanted to govern yourself and be by yourself. But imagine doing that and say like there's 1 million people on that same journey. You all arrive to the independent destination. Now there's no rule. There's no external force. And
it goes back to like the book of Judges.
Yeah,
everyone did what they thought was right in their eyes. No one listened to God.
That's
just
God,
like,
to
this
me,
isn't new.
To me, that would be just like it's terrifying to think about.
Is.
If someone is doing something because they thought it was right for them, and like they didn't really care about the consequences of what it did for other people, it's like I'm just about me. Like all right, I'm gonna have 7 wives. I'm gonna have 18 children. Take care of 9. Like, well, what? Why? Why? How do we? Well, this is what seems right to me.
This is my truth.
This is my truth. And don't call me a bad dad because, I'm just not there for all the rest.
I don't need to care about what other people think.
Think about me.
Right. And it
wild.
And a lot of this current stuff comes from Sigmund Freud, who was pretty much wrong about everything. It's been proven already, but most people don't even realize it's been disproven. But he was like, his whole thing.
He was the loudest voice.
His whole thing was about like sex is everything.
Yeah.
And he says, for Freud, this is key. Repression of desire is the basis for all neurosis, or like rotting, like just not being okay. So translation, the reason you're unhappy is because other people are telling you can't do stuff. No, that's not it. Like, but it's scary how many people believe that.
Yeah, like because you told me no, that means like you're trying to like hinder my fun, which is funny how people think that.
You're not letting me be my true authentic self.
Well, because the true authentic self is going to damage you. Like it's not
your true authentic self. It's just your desires talking. Like it's not really you.
Dang.
Like you think that's what makes you human, and it's not. Like this is the last thing we'll say. We'll go to break. He says, John Mark says, but when sex becomes like a pseudo god that we look to for identity, for belonging in a community, and for self-satisfaction, when it becomes a soteriology, which is the doctrine of salvation, when like having sex becomes what saves me, right? Like that is I'm gonna die. It's gonna be bad. That's a disordered love, right? It can't possibly satisfy the deeper ache of the soul for love, intimacy, acceptance, and I can't read that word, but anyway, like. Thinking that like me being who I am sexually is the thing that's what gives me my identity and saves me and like that's unending, because again, we didn't talk about this, but the flesh can never be satisfied.
Never.
Ever.
It's not supposed to be.
It wasn't designed for that. Like you will always be able to, you know what? I need to eat more. Like that meal was good, but I wasn't. You're not done.
No.
I'm like, I'll never eat again. That was the best meal ever. I'm good. Give it 2 hours. You're like, well, I need to eat
right
again.
back to it.
Forgot all about it.
I'm right back to it. And when you try to make sex or your sexuality or your sexual orientation, if you try to make that your identity, it is very fleeting, because you'll find out that what you were looking for, what you thought you couldn't find on one side of the spectrum, like it's going to be the same on the other side. You think
all
that's
the same spectrum.
But like humans are going to be humans.
Yes.
No matter.
Especially if they are humans who are operating just like you, which is from their flesh, which is from just going off their desires. If everybody in the whole society is operating off their desires, that is not good. Like we have to. I think we actually understand that,
I think so.
but we're like pretending it's not true. Because that's why we have to have laws and all. You
That's why
have
there's
to
people
govern.
in jail.
You have to govern people's like desires.
Yeah, and if you don't, the word like, eventually, if you don't do it, obviously you're gonna get anarchy and chaos everywhere. But the less that people restrain their own desires, the more external forces need to be there to like make sure people are not harming people. Someone has to be the adult in the room. Like if you put a bunch of little kids in a room and they start fighting over one toy, okay, they all desire that one toy. Yes. But to beat another kid to get it is not the right way. Yes, we can be in this room and have a desire to play with that toy, but we need to learn how to share that toy. Man. Like some people are just going to pretend they have it in their hand until they get it. But for the most part, hitting someone to get it is never going to be the answer. So just being like, thinking about desires in that way. Think about how desires are
like realizing, we're going to talk about it when we come back, but like, we got to realize like what is actually happening. You're not being true to yourself. Like you're just, we'll stop there. We'll come back and we'll see you guys after the break.
All right,
hey guys, what's up? This is an ad, so bear with us. Don't skip it. Guys, we have a Patreon. We've been talking about it for a long time. We would love some more of your support. Okay, if you get anything out of this podcast, any gems, any like good information, knowledge, you feel uplifted and encouraged, please think about supporting us on Patreon. Become one of our patrons, man. We want to expand this thing, make this even better than it is right now. We have, done a lot of renovations out of our own pocket. So guys, like, please think about becoming a patron.
Yeah, because your support goes a long way. It'll help us continue to upgrade our cameras, our computers, everything that we do here, but we literally can't do it without you. So if you feel led to, please support us through this platform and continue to support us as we continue to grow and give you better content.
Thanks, guys. Love you.
See ya.
All right, we are back from a very long break.
Well, at least for us it was.
Yeah, you guys had a very short break, but our break was amazing. We solved all the world's problems.
In what, 30 minutes?
Yeah, completely dissected the culture. It was about an hour, bro. We was talking. I'm like, oh wow. One of these days we gotta like record it and just post it to Patreon or something.
Record the break.
Cause I felt like we had a great conversation. Anyway,
we could have kept going.
I know. So so we're talking about the culture's answer versus the ancient answer to. We haven't even asked the question. The question is, Brandon, what is freedom?
Man, what is freedom?
We talked about slavery and freedom a little bit. We touched on it, but what is freedom?
Are you asking me first?
I am asking you.
Oh,
yes, sir.
America. Freedom is. I think we did mention it, or in a sense. But freedom is, to me, after reading the book, I have this understanding. Freedom is the ability to rule over your desires. Like if you have if you have a desire, you can just, and you can, I mean, there are certain desires you can have that, like, yes, you can definitely go after that, and it's a good thing to do so. But like knowing the difference between the good desires and the ones that are not so good, and then being able to say yes to the good ones and to say no to the bad ones.
Okay, I like what you said. You got to all of it. So like the way that he puts it in the book, a little bit more, I guess, like succinct way to put it. Freedom is the power and ability to want to do good.
Yes.
Freedom is the power and ability to want to do good. This is like, I preached this. I forget when I preached this. I preached it actually like 3 different times. Maybe preached it multiple times. Preached it at TG. I preached it at both the high school and the middle school.
Oh, wow.
At Flipside. But yeah, so that is an ancient understanding of freedom. And then once you get to Freud and his whole nonsense, freedom becomes the ability to do whatever you want. Like to shake off all external authority and to just no repression, because external authority is oppression. You're being oppressed. You need to be free from that, free to be able to do whatever you want.
It's like when I was younger, people would say, or I would hear like my youth pastor say, and other people say like, you're going to be a slave to something. Like you're going to be a slave to something. Be a slave to something that is good. Be a slave to what is good. being a slave to good, which essentially means being a slave to God, because He is good, is the better choice. Like but as a human being, we don't have the freedom to just be free. Like, yeah, we don't have the freedom to just be free, because if you're just free and out there doing your own thing, you're a slave to your own flesh, or you're a slave to your own desires. If you choose to do what is good and what is right, then you have to become a slave to whoever owns or whoever's created the good and the right.
Yeah, because that's the thing I was going to say. Because with the ancient definition of freedom, the fact that it's based on to be able to do what is good, you have to define what is good. And a lot of people think that freedom is the absence of restrictions. Like there's just no restrictions at all. I can do whatever I want. Nothing's restricting me. But the ancient definition of freedom, the biblical definition of freedom, is actually not the absence of restrictions. It's finding the right restrictions. Like, restriction is not bad in and of itself, which sounds crazy to our current culture. Like, wait, no, all restriction is bad. No, it's not. I definitely want it to be illegal to murder. Yes. I want that to never go away. It should always be illegal
to kill
murder. Now, we could maybe expand that to like unborn humans. That would be great too. Yeah. But anyway, not to get political. But yeah, like we have to restrict. And the example I gave when I preached this with the high school kids was marriage.
Oh, right. Good example.
Because we think that, I need to be free to like, be with whoever I want to be with, and I don't want that restriction of the ball and chain be tied down. It's like, no, like actually there's a ton of freedom in the restriction of marriage. Because now that I know I'm committed to this one person, they're committed to me. They're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We are free to be our full selves.
Yes.
And to fully enjoy each other and trust. Like that trust is there because I know you're not going to anybody else. You're not going anywhere. Even if, like, the full self, even including the bad parts of me, you're not going anywhere. You're committed to me. So it's like I get to be 100% me.
Yep. You get to be authentic. You get to be like as creative as you want in that restriction. And I truly believe that's what God is looking for in us. Like wanting, He wants us to be our authentic self. He just wants us to choose what is good.
Yeah, we have to define, like, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but like, if both me and my spouse are free, meaning we have the desire and the power, like the ability and the power to want to do good, well, that also is for other people. It's not for me.
It's not selfish.
Right? So that means that I am trying to do what's good for her. She's trying to do what's good for me.
Right.
We both get taken care of. And that, again, that only comes in the restrictions of marriage. So that's what freedom is. Freedom does, in fact, involve discipline and restriction.
Yep.
Repression. From external, repression, all that good stuff, right? We have to really be careful as the church, like that this type of thinking is in the church. It's already in there.
Right.
There are people sitting in church that really believe that freedom is the ability to do whatever you want. Because every time I've asked the question, I always get somebody that answers that way.
And it's weird because when you start, so you ask that question and then you start asking follow-up questions to their answer, they find out pretty fast that like, oh, well, no, not whatever you want. And it's like, well, you just said whatever you want.
Then you're not free.
Then you're not
free.
Right,
by your definition.
And it's great because they'll say, oh, well, like, yeah, I don't think it's okay for everyone to have freedom or everyone to be able to do whatever they want. And then that's the conversation is like, well, why not?
Yeah, but again, by your definition, that means none of us are free.
Absolutely.
Because we all can't do whatever we want. So do we have freedom then? Is there a free society? Then you have to be like,
and I think that's where it comes in, where being able to define what freedom is what answers the question. Because even in a sense of like freedom being like independent, in a sense, I can get like, you want to like be able to make something of yourself, or like, I don't know, choose your own destiny, carve your own path, all that kind of stuff. But in the same sense, it's like I'm pretty sure you would want some guardrails on what you want it to be. And like, there are times when my kids, like, I love my kids to death. My middle child wants to be a black cat. And she grows up. Okay, that's a very strange thing you want to be, child. How about we put some more definition to what that means? What do you really want to be? Like, you can't become a cat. Like, hopefully, if you can't, in the metaverse, you probably could, but you can't become a cat. So when we started talking to her about like what she wants to be, it's actually she wants to be an actress. So yeah, maybe one day you can play the Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that might be a thing. Yes, you achieved the goal of becoming a black cat, but like without us as her parents, as external forces, putting guardrails on what she wanted to become, she may have grown up her whole life being like I have failed at life because I never became a cat.
Well, fam, did you hear that story? There was apparently this teacher that got in trouble, and there's different versions of the story, so I can't say it's fully true, but there was allegedly this student who was upset with the teacher because the student identified as a cat and the teacher refused to meow back to them. Okay, so just want to caution you do not want to be a black cat. You're a person. Okay.
Wait a minute.
I'm telling you, bro.
See, that's the type of that's the desire that needs to be
that's
like.
Bro.
This is not this. What?
If it's true, I'm like, this is nonsense. But
how do you get in trouble?
yeah, this there's this part in the book here. It's on page 115. He says, we need to navigate our desires by the external authority source, which is Jesus himself, in order to not repeat the mistakes of previous generations and to carry forward those generations' cumulative wisdom. So this kind of goes back to what we talked about in the previous episode of like chronological snobbery.
Right.
Like if we think that everything before us was dumb or backwards or bad, then we're actually missing out on all the wisdom that has been built up by previous generations that's been passed down to us that we can learn from. But if we always see it as, well, that's just an external authority I don't want to listen to, tradition, right? Not all tradition is bad, guys.
Come on.
There's a reason why it's traditional.
Like it didn't just
some
come
of it works.
And I think even in the context, like just understanding the context of where those traditions came from, where like why our grandparents said certain things. I think there's a lot of stuff that was said that for us it just didn't make any sense because we weren't living in their lifetime. It wasn't because it was wrong or bad. It was like
you just need context.
Yeah. So with context, the generation that came before us was hecka smart because they have already lived. They've already experienced. You know what I'm saying? They made it. We're here and we're decent, I guess, kind of all right. But we're only here because of their choices. You know what I'm saying? If they would have made all terrible choices, I don't think any of us would be alive today, or there would be anarchy and chaos happening all over the world. So those type of restraints, those type of those lessons that we got to learn from the previous generation are very, very important, and we can't have this chronological snobbery where we're like, oh, we're smarter just because we live in a different time. You're only smart because they taught us something. So like your education was based on what they taught you, even if you think you're smarter than them.
Yeah, and so it's scary how much this has become a religion, which is like be true to yourself, has actually become its own gospel.
Man,
and
true to yourself. Do you?
Yeah, follow our hearts, which we often misunderstand to be any authentic desire. And so modern authenticity encourages us to create our own beliefs and morality, the only rule being that we must resonate with who we feel we really are, right? And so happiness has become about feeling good, not being good.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
The good life has become about getting what we want, not becoming the kind of people who want truly good things. Man,
it is crazy to hear that. It's crazy to hear that and then understand our culture and being like, that is us. Yeah. To the T. Like, everything is about feeling good. And it's actually hard to be good. Or, I mean, it's like no one really wants to be good. And the good that you do want to be, you want to make sure you broadcast it. Like, you want to make sure that everyone sees.
And it's like, but the scary thing, too, is that we're redefining what is good. Because, like, now it seems never right to deny oneself. He just says right here on 118. Like, it's The good means giving in to whatever you feel. That's what's good. Which means what's bad is like if you never just give it. Why are you repressing stuff? Why, if this is how this 3-year-old feels, they need to do it. Like, why? That's evil.
To tell them
it's
no.
Literally
to tell them
evil to try to repress desires.
It's crazy though, because
right?
when you think about that in the sense of feelings or emotions, that literally changes by the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can imagine being like so upset because something happened, something even minor, and you're so upset that you're like ready to hurt someone. Should I act on that? Like if that my true authentic self or my what is authentic has come to the surface, and it is anger, and I want to hurt you. I want to physically hurt you. So if I got to be true to myself, that means I have to hit you right now.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I hit you, I may calm down and be cool and be like, all right, cool. You want to go get something to eat? But was me hitting you okay? Like, is that who you want me to be?
Mm-hmm.
And which I feel like the majority of our culture would say no. Like they would say it's not okay to harm other people. They say you can be true to yourself as long as it doesn't harm other people.
And then you have to define harm.
Yeah.
Because, okay, what if it harms me?
Mm-hmm.
What if I not giving in is harming me?
And then
I am what matters.
Yeah.
Because he says right here in 118, self is the new God, the new spiritual authority, the new morality. Right? So, like, it's this new religion of self.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if the self if me is the truly highest desire, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm the most important thing, then it doesn't matter if I hurt other people.
Right. Because
I'm more important.
Bro, that is some sick and twisted stuff. Because it doesn't lead to, it'll never lead to peace. It'll never lead to anything beautiful. It only leads to like fear, death, and like more slavery to yourself, to your desires. So it's hard to think in that mindset. It's hard to get over like people, because I've met people who really do like put themselves first and are always like extremely selfish. And when I look at their lives and I'm like, from the outside in, I'm always like, yo, bro, are you happy? Like, yeah, you proved them wrong. Man. Yeah, you made them look crazy. Yeah, you said the right thing. But you just seem like you're missing something still, because you always have to be number one. Like you always have to get that satisfaction that you were elevated, and you being elevated means other people around you have to be pushed down, and you're cool with that. And I'm like, at that point, the saying is true. It's lonely at the top because you have to climb on everybody's back to get there. Wow. So like, man, I don't think that's a true desire for. And
the thing too, like if you're listening to our conversation right now and you're like, yeah, that's what the left is doing. Let me talk to you for a second. Okay. Because I hear the right side of things, and I don't mean right as in correct. I mean right as in politically. Yeah. They have the same desire. It's about me. We got to look out for I got to look out for myself. Like, so I need all external authority, like whether it's government or anybody, like we need to stop trying to control us, like freedom. I need to be able to look out for myself, which means I'm not going to help other people. No. I'm not going to look out for people who are marginalized or who are oppressed or who are struggling in poverty or whatever it may be. That's their problem. They got to take care of themselves. I got to do me. They got to do them. That's on them.
They should be able to pull themselves
They got to pull themselves up. Like, we both sides are doing the exact, they have the same motive. It's still the religion of self.
Yeah. And then it's just like myself over you because I'm more important than you. Yeah. So you never, the truth is, if you're in your flesh, and I think he talked about this in one point where he talked about being fleshy. Talks about like they have an adjective in their household, and it's called fleshy. And anytime that someone is operating in this sphere, and they're operating in this feeling, they're almost like illogical. Like it's almost hard to like do anything. It's like you're being really fleshy right now, so like I'm gonna come back when you've like got your flesh under control. When we allow our flesh, especially like for me as a black man, I always run the risk of doing more damage to the people around me than to like my own ego or to my own self. When I'm like upset at my kids or whatever, there's times when I'm like really upset and there's like I just want to say like some really bad things. But I restrain myself because I have to understand like what I say to my children now can affect them when they're adults, like when they're grown up. So if I'm the one that's being childish in that moment, it could have lasting effects for them. I don't think that we, as a culture, we're not really thinking about our consequences of our actions today. We just say, oh, does that feel right to you? Like, then you better tell that person off. Well, what if that person's mom just passed away? What if, like, you don't understand the context of what you're saying to
we're
them?
We're not other focused. We're so worried about, and I see it with my students. Like, man, like the stuff, the way they talk to each other, the way they talk about each other, the way they treat each other.
It's wild.
But it's like, and when you ask them, like, yo, they're like, but like, they did this to me. Like, you know, I need to tell them about themselves, blah, 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 blah. It's just like, you see it like manifesting on this level. And I want to get to this part in the book. This is page 126. It's the second chapter of the section on the flesh. And if you really care about America, right? It's not doing well.
It's not.
And it's funny because the definition of freedom to be able to do whatever you want was created by America. We didn't have the definition of freedom until 1776.
Really?
Yeah. As far as be able to do whatever you want. Like, America literally redefined what freedom was with the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, wow.
Which it's free. It's the ability, the life, liberty, to happiness. Like, that's, and so like we Americans vaunt freedom as the ultimate good. The ability to do whatever you want is like the highest American value on either side. But you have to admit, it's not working.
True.
Like, he
the
says
pursuit
here,
of it is not working.
Well, he says here, like, if we're so worried about freedom, we literally had a whole system built on slavery. Number one, we were founded on that. And then he says, addiction in our nation is widespread. Like, there is so AA and rehab, and it's massive. Compulsive shopping, debt, financial, like obesity, alcoholism. Like, we are
sensationalism. We're just stuck to that. Yeah.
It's because we are constantly like, I'm free to do whatever I want. I'm free to give into my flesh. And we have a whole entire society that's doing that. That's giving into their flesh. But we think, we're being free.
Yeah.
This is us exercising our freedom. It's not working.
Yeah.
People are depression and
everything is up.
It's not working, guys.
It's more than it's ever been.
And so I actually, before we end, we got about 10 minutes. I want to end with the Bible.
Amen.
Which is what John Mark goes to a lot here. In the words of Paul, in Galatians 5. And I think Galatians 5 is just so powerful for this topic of the flesh. So he quotes Paul here. He says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Right? And then he says in verse 13, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh."
Come on.
Okay. And so to further hit on that, I'm going to reread that again. He says at the beginning of the chapter, he says, "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. Do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want." It's the exact opposite of the definition of freedom that we go by.
Yeah.
You're not to do whatever you want, because that leads to slavery.
Yeah.
So this is a conversation about freedom versus slavery. This is what we don't understand. Like, if I don't sow into my spirit, he talks about this in Galatians 6, which is what I preached on, right? If I don't sow into my flesh and I sow into my spirit, and what do you mean by sow? Sow is just decisions I make, right? So if I choose to not
invest or deposit,
that's a good way to put it. So like, I have set, my phone has this thing called bedtime mode. So I've set it to 10:30 So at 10:30, my whole phone goes black and white. Like it goes grayscale. All the colors gone, and a lot of apps don't work.
Wow.
And so it's just like, it's basically telling me you need to go to bed. And it's, I'm telling you, you can't. Using it in grayscale, you don't even want it. Man, forget this. I'll be watching the video, it goes black and white.
I'm done.
And it doesn't turn off until 5 a.m. And just that, right? Like just that discipline of like shutting off my phone. And then, I told you I've been waking up at 5:30 every morning, and it's sometimes I mess up, but I refuse to like look at my notifications.
As the first thing you do?
Yeah, I'm not. My first thing I do is not going to be able to what's on my phone. I get up. I usually use the bathroom, wash my hands, and then I come and I go into our walk-in closet. I open up my timer and I start the timer. And I have to consciously not pull down my notification menu and look at on there.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to start my day with what's on my phone.
Which is a huge discipline in and of itself.
Yes.
So like, shout out to you for even like making those attempts. Number one, becoming a master of your own flesh by waking up early. Like you're not gonna allow your body to sleep until the last minute. Like
which I used to do, and I was more tired.
Yeah,
I'm actually less tired now.
It's so crazy.
It's weird
doing that, and then having the ability to not look at your phone, which is, if we're being honest, majority of Americans, I can say, or let me say this, a majority of iPhone users, I can probably say this with confidence, are addicted to their phones. Like completely addicted.
That's why these phone companies had to add in all these like screen time.
Right, because they were seeing the adverse effect of what
my phone sends me every Sunday, like my report for the week. And like it has all these different breakdowns, all this number. It's like they had to add that in because like y'all have a problem.
Bro, in John Mark Comer's other book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, in the forward, and this is why I can't get past the forward. It says that the average cell phone user touches their phone 2,600 times a day.
I believe it.
2,000.
I believe it.
Like
I just be picking up just for no reason.
For no reason, bro. I do this. Like I just like click. Just I don't have to know what the time is. It's just like I just want to. Oh, is my phone actually on? Like okay, it is.
Bro,
okay, it's still working.
Like if I'm in a uncomfortable situation, and it could be any amount of discomfort. Literally, like if I feel a hint of boredom, I'm check my phone. I mean, there's nothing to do on there. I'm just like, I'll unlock it and I'll just be,
bro,
for no reason.
No reason.
If I'm in an uncomfortable conversation or whatever, I have this desire to look. It's like a place of comfort.
Yeah, it's like a way to get away. But I thought about the sheer number, 2,600 times a day, which I'm just like, if today is halfway over for me, I've already touched my phone 1,000 times, 1,300 times, which I could probably tell you like the 4 times that I was like consciously touching my phone. Like, oh, I had to check the time. I had to send a text message those times. But, and it goes on to say in that book, it's like, what if we were able to overcome that desire? And instead of us touching our phone, God is like touching our brains that many times per day. What if you had that many connection times with God? Yeah. If you connected with God, like you would be able to overcome the desires of your flesh. You would be able to fight against the flesh when those desires came up. I was going to just read this part. Like when in Galatians chapter 5, I love it because it gives these stark contrasts between the spirit and the flesh. And this is what it says. It says, so walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit. Oh, you just read all that. These are the acts of the flesh: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissension, factions, enviness, drunkenness. The list goes on. Those are all the acts of the flesh. This is what the flesh wants to indulge in. These are the acts of the Spirit: love, joy. These are our deepest. So these are the first one are our strongest desires. Yeah. They are the loudest desires. But the things that we really want are in Galatians 5 verse 22, which is love. We all want to be loved. Joy, peace, long suffering or forbearance, kindness, faithfulness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. Control.
And it's funny how like we really don't talk about that one, goodness. We don't talk about goodness.
Not often.
Nah, but that's the definition of freedom, is the ability to want to do
Do good.
Right? We don't talk about, I will be able to have goodness. It's like, that's a crazy one.
That's dope.
Yeah. Galatians 6, and this is what I preached on. This is verse 1. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Brothers and sisters, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore them in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. Bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. So right then and there, I have to be, number one, other focused.
Yes.
I can't be about me, right? I need to be somebody who is regularly like making decisions that discipline my flesh, that sow into my spirit, that connect with God. But I have to be gentle, so I have to be humble.
Yeah.
I can't think I'm better than them.
Else,
I also got to be careful, because that flesh is still in me.
Yeah.
And it's still like, hey man, what they doing feel kind of good. You do it yourself. But I can't say that's their problem. I have to make their problem my problem. That's literally what justice is. We're supposed to do justice as Christians.
Yeah.
I have to make other people's problem my problem.
Problems.
Right? Dropping to, where is it at? Verse 8. No. Verse 7. Very famous verse. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, they will also reap. I used to struggle with that verse. What are you saying? God is not, what the heck does that even mean? But basically what it means is that, like, this is a basic principle. This is a universal. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in, it's not
this
isn't even
truth
spiritual.
Will be truth no matter what.
This is just a universal truth. If you sow, you will reap that. Whatever you sow. If I plant corn, I'm going to get corn out the ground.
Yep.
Right? If I invest in this, I'm going to get, it's just a base. That's what it means by he's not, like, this is a simple, don't think this is not true. Don't be deceived. This is basic.
Like, you don't believe in God, but don't think that this does not apply to you.
This applies to everybody. Whatever you sow, you will also reap. For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap destruction. So like if I make decisions where I'm being more addicted to my phone or alcohol or food or sex or working out or
the things
working, just period, overworking at my job, like whatever I place my desire in more, too much, if I make those decisions, which I have control over,
right?
You don't hear anything else. We have control over how disciplined our flesh is. You cannot blame God or the devil for that. It's on us, right? We will reap destruction, which you see it in the world. All the addiction and struggles and anxiety, we are reaping destruction because we're sowing into our flesh so much as a society, which we'll talk about the next one, which is on the world, right? But one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life, right? And let us not grow weary of doing good, choosing to do what is good. Let's not grow weary of making those decisions to discipline ourselves, right? For in due season we will reap if we do not give up.
Man.
So
I'm gonna actually read verse 10 because it kind of like sums all this up. It says, "Therefore,
I like that.
As we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers." And those, so like the practical, do good. Like doing good is the goal. Like doing good is what we really want to do. The truth is that doing good is hard. Like it is work. Let me be very clear. It doesn't come easy. Human beings have fallen. That part of us does not come easily anymore. Yes. But if we work at it, it will become the louder voice. It will become the thing that we desire most of all, and it'll be out in front rather than like in the back trying to get attention. Like pick me. Like no, go for it. Like work in that now.
That's good. The last thing I want to say, actually, on top of that, what you just said was good, man. We have this misunderstanding that when you become a Christian, you won't struggle. And I'm not just talking about like, oh, you'll be rich or whatever, like, you won't financially struggle. I'm talking like we feel like, okay, I've struggled with these things like sin or whatever. Once I get saved, I won't struggle with that anymore. Oh, that is not true.
Not at all.
You will be tempted. In fact, there's a verse that we often don't pay attention to. A part of it is we wrestle not against flesh and blood, or we struggle not against flesh and blood. What's the thing that we're not paying attention to? What's the first couple words?
Fight.
Well, we struggle.
Oh yeah.
Stop there. It's going to be
happen.
It's guaranteed.
The struggle is there.
We're worried about what we're not struggling against.
Yeah.
Don't miss it. There is going to be a struggle though.
Yeah.
This life is a struggle. You will be wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
That is
your whole life too.
Your hope. You're promised that.
Mm-hmm.
The key is that you should have a power, because freedom is the power and ability.
Mm-hmm.
Ability is like, okay, I can choose. Like I have the option, right?
Right.
But the power is something we have to get from outside of us.
Yeah, it doesn't come from
because we
us.
have the flesh. I need a power source outside of myself to help me to want to do good. Yeah. I have the ability. Paul talked about that in Romans 7. Like, I have the ability to want to do good, but I don't have the power. I keep doing what the flesh wants
me to do.
Who can set me free?
Yeah,
from my flesh. So once I get the power, now it's on me. The responsibility is on me to use my ability to want to do good.
That's beautiful, man. Right? I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
the fact that like when you give your life to Jesus and you choose to want to live in the Spirit, to say yes to Jesus, to follow Him, He then gives you the power to actually work out.
Yeah.
Work out the muscle of the Spirit.
To say no to your desires, to say no to your temptation. But once you get that power, responsibility is on you.
Like, okay,
He's
you don't
like,
have
all
it.
right, here you go.
Here's your power. Now exercise it, which verse 10 says. You gotta, the opportunities are coming. The opportunities are here. Now utilize them. Like I was watching an Instagram reel the other day and it was saying, it said, when you ask God for patience, you think He's going to just like put patience in your heart or just like deposit patience into your brain? No, He's going to give you difficult people to work with so you can practice being patient. If you're asking God for financial, like to be financially stable, you think God's going to put money in your bank account? Well, no, because you're not financially stable now. So if He did, you know what you did with your tax return last year. Like, you come on, stop playing. Like, He can give you all the money in the world, but the discipline comes from.
What you're not asking for is more money.
Yeah,
you need to be asking for like the ability to manage
the money that I have,
whatever money you
exactly.
Get. Yeah.
So He's going to give you opportunity to manage money. So yes, He will give you another income tax, but He's also now giving you the ability and the time to plan how you spend that.
Exactly.
Instead of just getting it and then being like, all right, cool, I'm about to ball out,
Yeah.
and then 3 weeks later you be like, hey, bro. You got gas money? I just need a little bit. Can you help me out? You just got $10,000 last week.
Dang. Yeah, that is really, because He's not gonna like violate your free will in that sense. Like, I want you to be able to choose, and which is like, we got to realize that's more beautiful than God, give me the power to be patient in this moment. Like, just deposit patience. Now I am patient.
Right.
No, I want you to actually have the freedom to be able to be patient in the moment, right? And that is
in any moment.
He's giving us more autonomy in that sense. Like, He's not controlling. He's literally like, no, I'm going to put you in a situation where you have to actually choose to be patient with this person.
Yeah,
like that's beautiful.
And I think I think in that sense you value it more. Getting something is great, but like earning something is totally different. So if God gives you the power to do it, and then you start doing it, you can actually be a person that like looks back and say, yo, I haven't looked back in a long time, but dude, did you see what I used to be? Like, you used to be able to, like, people would talk to me and I would just like, this is not me, this is an example, but like folks like who have tempers, and they'd be like, bro, if you'd have said that to me 2 years ago, like,
you'd be waking up in the hospital.
But you're still here, and I'm like, and we're dialoguing rather than arguing. We settle on a disagreement, but we're still friends. Like, people don't have that before, and I think that's the beauty of being a follower of Jesus. You get to see the journey. You can look back and see how much control your flesh had over you before you started the journey, and then like seeing yourself now. You may not be where you want to be, but you're definitely not where you started. So that's like the beauty of it all.
Yeah, guys. So listen, second plug, get the book.
Please.
'Cause there's a whole lot we didn't cover.
Oh my gosh.
A whole lot of stuff we didn't say. There's so, especially in this even if you just read the section on the flesh, that's all you read. I forget how many chapters it is, but that will change your life.
Yeah.
That
It
will
just gives
change
you
your
it
life.
gives you tools, man. It gives you
Yeah.
tools. And the cool thing about this book is it's just giving you information that you still have to work out.
Mhm.
Like
It's
you
still
have,
on you.
it's still on you. Like it
Mhm.
ain't like, oh, I read this and now God just deposited. No. But you will be
I
aware.
can't
After you
listen.
read this book, you will
can't
be
say
aware.
nobody told you.
Yeah, not at all.
Mhm.
Not at all.
All right, guys. So, next episode will be on the world.
Yeah.
Okay, the third enemy. Thank you guys for like tuning into this series. I'm sorry it took so long to get the second episode of the series out, but let us know what you think. If you got the book, give us your feedback on it. What do you think about it? Do you think it's stupid? Do you think you wasted your money? Think we were bad, at giving you the advice to buy it? Or do you think it's fantastic? What's your favorite part?
Yeah.
What have you gotten from it? Maybe something that we didn't notice or catch or cover that you thought, man, you guys should have said this part.
Mm-hmm.
Please let us know. Interact with us, man.
That'd be dope.
And we love y'all. We will see you later in the next one.
See you on the next one.
Peace.